GM everyone, welcome back to another episode of Yield of the Week. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about InfiniFI. So I believe they just launched yesterday, and as you can see here from my screen, they almost have 15 million in TVL. I might have written a tweet about them if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, let's jump right into it. All right, so the tagline shows that they're better than banks, but what exactly are they doing? How are they generating yield? And is this just a Ponzi, or are they trying interesting new primitive in DeFi? Now, a lot of DeFi project typically optimizes their infrastructure in order to just squeeze on a few more basis points. But I think what InfiniFI is trying to do here is decently interesting. So the TLDR is that they're trying to provide more yield for a capital that is willing to lock their money in a longer time duration. So essentially right now, to my knowledge, there isn't any significant DeFi primitives out there that rewards you for locking your money for longer. Obviously, there are yield splitting, kind of like what Ethena helped pioneered with SUSDE and USDE. So folks who actually stake their capital get the yield of those who are not staking their capital. We have seen that before. That's more of just like the typical yield splitting mechanisms that have been implemented by a lot of stable coins. But InfiniFI is trying to do that with time duration instead. So let's jump right into their documentation. All right, so this is the most important infographic that you can see about InfiniFI. So let's take an example where there are two equal $100 deposits on the liquid and illiquid side. Now, liquid means that you can take the money out at any time. It's very similar to just depositing capital into Aave. You will be getting yield while your money is inside the protocol, but once you take it out, you will be foregoing that yield. The illiquid deposits, though, are a little bit different because it's time constrained, and you can choose to lock your money for a certain time period from like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then InfiniFI would find suitable strategies that match your time locking preference. So in this case, the illiquid deposits will be allocated towards Ethena and Pendle because Ethena, SUSDE, let's say, have a 7-day withdrawal period. So obviously that matches the time period profile. All right, so here's what happened. In a scenario in which you have both $100 being deposited on the liquid side and on the illiquid side, the final outcome at the bottom here shows that the liquid depositors would receive 6.5% or $6.5 out of $100, and the illiquid depositors would receive 10.15% or $10.15 out of $100. Now, this is, as you can see here, this is much higher compared to the 5 and 8.5 that you would get natively. And how is that possible? Because essentially the liquid deposits are willing to be the more senior tranche. So in the case of any bad debt and so on, they're not the first one that's being slashed. That's going to be the illiquid deposits. But for taking the risk, for not taking the risk by being the more senior tranche, they are foregoing $90 of their capital, and that capital is being rehypothecated. And the result of that rehypothecated capital, the yield that's being generated by that rehypothecated capital is provided for the illiquid deposits. So that's why they're able to enhance the return for both sides of the aisle. You can see here right now that when you deposit, so you can just click on earn and you can deposit USD, IUSD, which is InfiniFI's own version of stablecoin, USDT or SUSDE, right? You can deposit and roughly earn around 8.14% APY. You can see here at the top that is essentially coming from these four protocols. So they're breaking down the liquid deposits into Aave, Fluid, Euler, and Euler Prime. Now, here's the distribution, and I believe it's not live now, but in the future, when you lock your capital, then you get to vote on the weightings, right? So like obviously a lot of people would want to vote on the highest yield given that it's coming from blue chip protocols such as what's listed here. At the same time, you can also see where the yield from the locked assets are coming from. So if you're just locking for 1 week, you would get it from Ethena SUSDE. If you're locking for 2 weeks, you would get it from Pendle PTC USD 0. And what they're also doing here that's very interesting is that from a user experience perspective, they're actually going to help you roll over the Pendle points. So it's going to be a lot more in terms of like managing your own capital. They will take care of that. You can also mint IUSD, InfiniFI's own stablecoin, if you want to get access to more of their points. Obviously, if you hold IUSD, as you can see here, you would get twice the points. And if you click on the points program, you can do all of the things listed here to generate even more points. But yeah, like essentially they are trying to pioneer and establish a time duration preference based yield instead of just the generic yield splitting that we have seen implemented by a lot of protocols before. So that is it. I hope you find that useful.